Hillary, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I'm very excited to get to know you and talk about what your passion projects are and also understand what brought you on the path that you are. Granted that you and I have very similar passion projects, it sounds like. You're also a life coach and you are also on a journey to help people better understand themselves. Thank you for being here. Can you please introduce yourself to my listeners and let them get to know you alongside with me?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is such a pleasure to speak to you, especially because it seems like we're aligned in so many ways. But I'm Hillary Spiritos, and my business is BaT Outta Hell, which is a pathfinding consultancy. So my mission is to help young adults overcome their blocks by finding the courage, creativity, grit, resourcefulness, and resilience to create and execute and build the life that they want and to move forward in their lives. So I help them figure out who they are, what they want, what they're capable of, what's next, overcome what's in their way, and then create an actionable strategic plan moving forward so they can live the life they want and their authentic, fullest life.
That's beautiful. I love the mission. So it
Thanks.
definitely sounds like you and I are on a similar path. And I love
Yeah,
that that our paths cross. That is something that I'm very excited about.
amazing.
So what I do wonder then, because I feel like all of us have this realization at some point in our lives, but in the sense of finding our path and figuring out what it is that we truly want, I think a lot of us are walking through life not really understanding that there's a different way of doing things, or even that what we're doing is strictly habitual and a framework created by our caregivers first and foremost, or just just the community we grew up in, or the society, or whatever it might be. Did you what did your upbringing look like in that sense, and when did you realize, and maybe why? A lot of questions here, so we can work on this, of course, in steps. But I'm very curious if you ever had this realization that, like, oh, there's so much more to life than what I grew up to believe.
Yeah. So much of what you said is interesting and important. So I absolutely agree that so much of what we believe comes from the stories we learned as children. So
Mhm.
the environment that we grew up in, what we learned was acceptable, not acceptable, good enough, successful, failure. Our definitions of those words were formed then. So growing up, I was I was kind of led to believe, I understood the story that you go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you get good grades, and then you get a job. And I didn't know what I wanted it to be, but I also grew up in a household where, like, well, I grew up in a household for the most part where math and science and engineering and all of those were like really valued. And that wasn't necessarily how my brain worked and or understood it, but I didn't enjoy it.
Right.
And so I went into university studying chemistry and like really didn't like jive with it, didn't love it. And so I changed my major ultimately in my junior year and I was met with some excitement, but some resistance from people in my community. And that was the first time I think I realized that I was going to just stick to my guns and do what I wanted to do, regardless of what anybody else said or thought I should do, or what they thought about what I was doing, or what like their judgments. Because I think like, you're your own home, right? So
Yeah.
if you recognize that what you're doing fits with what you want, and you're building towards something, or you're trying something that you want, or engaging in some way that you feel comfortable with, then like it, even if you lose all your friends, which isn't going to happen, or if you lose your family, which hopefully isn't going to happen, then you still have you. And I think I really started to recognize that then. Um, And thankfully that didn't happen, but I definitely did change and I definitely did like gravitate towards newer people. But
Right.
um yeah, what was the rest of your question? There were so many parts of it.
Yes, you're so fine. Um, can you tell me, where did you grow up? Like, what country, what state? Well, now I'm assuming it's America.
It is. So I am originally from New York City.
Oh, okay,
Um,
cool.
but I That's another thing that has formed my life. So I have always known that I want to live an expansive life, and I
Yeah.
have always traveled. So I have lived in many countries and cities. I lived in many cities in America. I've lived in different countries in the world. I currently live in London.
Oh,
Um, yeah. So I am someone who has value. I have a value of travel. I have a value of experiencing the world in very different ways and trying to explore in that way.
mhm.
And that has also led me to figure out like who I am, what I want, how I want to engage with the world. Like all of this, is that still something I want to be doing? Like all of this stuff is mulling around in my mind right now. You're catching me at a very interesting moment.
Oh, okay. That's
But yeah, but I think I'm trying to like as we talked about earlier before this recording, like you are constantly reevaluating what you want and what you want your life to look like. And I have so many clients who talk to me about once I figure this out, I'll be done and I'll just like go on this route.
yeah.
And I think it's so important to develop the skills and tools such as like resilience and self-reliance and self-trust and being able to tolerate discomfort and stand in your own voice because there are going to be so many times that you're going to have to do that. And the more you practice, the more you're going to get comfortable with that. And the more you're going to be like, oh no, I know how to do that. And the more you're going to be able to look back and be like, I've done it before and it's been
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just, I think the idea that anybody has it all figured out or you're gonna be off to the races in one, like after one decision is just a fallacy. So it's
Hmm.
really important to be able to learn how to pivot
Yeah.
and be okay with trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think that is such a good point because if there's this whole journey of writing my book, I realize as I'm writing that, oh wow, there was many highs and there was many lows and there was many repetitive moments. And even in, so I'm currently reading every chapter for my boyfriend just to kind of practice reading it out
Yeah.
loud and to go through the process of just like proofreading and whatnot or hearing what it sounds like. But it's like he even notices throughout my reading that like you do realize this is still like you'd still do this. Like, and it's like something I talked about 10 years ago. This is something I fixed. But it's certainly nothing to fix or even well, you can change a pattern, but the acknowledgement of just recognizing that it's so embodied in who we
Hmm.
are, the things that we do, the things that we are challenge, like the challenges that we face. It's not like we just all of a sudden we have information and therefore we're fixed and now we can embody that knowledge into our behavior. No, it's mostly being able to recognize that you're doing it and slowly, steady, step by step, changing the behavior, but it also comes with trials and error. We cannot overstep the step of actually acting it out.
Yes.
Um, so okay, you're talking about how you've lived in a lot of different cities. I'm so curious because I'm a world traveler myself. So cool that you're living in London, by the way. That's the one place I've actually never been, so I'm super excited to see
Well,
that
I've
one
never been
day.
to Norway actually.
Well, maybe we'll figure this out somehow. But so, what are some other cities in the world, like not the US, that you've been living in?
So I not in the US where I've lived in Melbourne, Australia, and I've lived in London. And then I've lived in different cities in the US.
Okay, got you.
Um, yeah. Oh, actually that's not true. I also lived in Prague. Um,
Wow.
I just think sometimes my brain my brain sometimes I was telling a story to a friend I just met. I was like, "Oh, right. That's right. I forgot about that."
Yes.
Um, but yes, I've had a lot of different experiences, but I just want to touch on one thing that you've said is
Okay.
because I think it's so important to recognize that I have I understand that there is an intellectual knowing and there's an emotional knowing and there's a gut knowing, and I do think that often like value the intellectual knowing, like, oh, I understand that I do this and it's fine. And now I know that I do it and I'll figure it out and we're not, the
Yeah.
and and so I think what's important is like exactly what you're saying. You have to embody it. You have to put it into practice. You have to, and you also have to change your neural pathways. You have to change the way you think.
Right, that's such a good
And
point.
so, like, what's really important is I like to visualize it as like skiing. And so you're skiing, and say you even try to start skiing from like these paths are so deeply ingrained that they're so like the paths that we've skied are so deeply set that like even if you start trying to ski from a different place and you're like, oh, I'm going to start thinking in this way, you still can fall into the same grooves,
Yeah.
like because your brain is just so like mentally practiced to do
Hmm.
those things.
Yeah.
So it's really important to be cognizant of it. And like I recognize that, one thing that I'm really realizing, and it ties back into me living in all these places. It's like I'm still there, right? So like
Wherever you go, there
everything
you are.
exactly. So like part of I think my thought was these are all the things that I really wanted to do. I wanted to live in all these places. I still want to. I'm really excited about it. It's great. But there's a part of me I'm realizing that thought like, oh, a new environment would make me do new things. And that is true to an extent, but you're also like, oh, I'm still engaging in the world in the way that like I used to in
Right.
certain ways, and
Hmm.
I need to, it's not environment specific, it's like I have to do things differently. And it's
Yeah.
really an interesting reminder to be like, oh, I thought I figured this out.
Yes. Oh my
But it's
goodness.
not, it's like you're like, oh, but it's just a new way of like it's not showing up exactly the same way as it always has, but
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of the same issue, but like presented in a new way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
But
just a
hopefully
new
I have the skills
person.
to, yeah, but hopefully I have the skills to work on it, which I think I do.
Yes, everything you said, I can relate to on so many levels. Granted that large portion of my book is about the back and forth of Norway, America, like feeling the belonging over there, knowing that Norway is home, and not sensing that sense of belonging here. But it's like you said, wherever you go, there you are. So it's like you show up as the person you are with the habits and routines that you embody, but then you come into an environment where the societal norms are different, the
Hmm.
culture is different, what people value is different. And now somehow, like kind of using that ski analogy that you were using, you have this pathway that you're familiar with. It's very easy to stay on the track if they're like the ones you constantly run on
Right.
or like ski on. But the moment you get out of that path and there's not, like, imagine it like this: when you're in the like say you go out of the tracks where there's no tracks at all, and that is coming to a new city, you are still the person, right? You're still the person skiing, you're navigating the skis, but now the territory looks completely different, and it seems as though there's no pathway in front of you. You have to actually create the pathway in front of you. And that can be a massive challenge.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I think you and I both do and help people with. It's like
Yeah,
that is absolutely a massive challenge, but
yeah,
it's also a massive opportunity. And so I think what's really cool is like all of these things that we think of as challenges or what makes us anxious or what makes us scared could also be things that are exciting, right? Could also
yeah,
be things that are opportunities. And so it's this idea of both changing how your attitude and changing how you think about things, but also like rewiring obstacles as opportunities, and opportunities for growth,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
Because like, yes, it's a definite opportunity to try something new, but I think what's really cool is like it's an opportunity to grow and show yourself you can do something and learn a new skill, or show yourself you can try something and figure it out or whatever it might be.
yeah,
And I think one of the things that I really value in life is growth.
yeah.
And so I think um, the opportunity to do that and push yourself out of your comfort zone, that is something that we need to really value.
Yeah, yeah. It's something funny because when you were talking, I had this image running in my head. You know how when you're skiing in a place where there's no path, like you just go out of the path and you decide that like let's fuck around and find out.
Hmm.
and then you go down and you see like a bump in the road, and in your head you're like, okay, I don't know if that is a bush covered in snow or a rock covered in snow, but I'm about to hit it. And it's like sometimes that might just be a bush and you just kind of swoop over and it's fine. It's like, ooh, that looked like a challenge for a hot second, but okay, it was fine. But
Yeah.
then in the very next moment, it might just be a rock. And you
Yeah.
might tumble and fall and have to learn from that. So to kind of take all of these metaphors and theories into more practical examples, are you comfortable sharing some deep, vulnerable, like fears of yours or situations in life where, yeah, you stumbled and fell and it just hurt and you didn't even know where to begin picking yourself up from that pit?
Yeah, I think there are definite points in my life where I have felt like I have lived my life according to what other people wanted.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I was younger and I basically had just graduated university, and I realized, even with like changing my major was a big thing for me.
Mhm.
But I realized that I had lost myself in a way, and I had
Mhm.
just become someone that I just wanted everyone to think I was okay and doing okay and had the answers and thought I knew what I was doing. And so I had a bit of a real stumble when I just felt like I didn't know who I was really, to like
Yeah.
a basic like real internal self. Like I had no idea what I liked, what I didn't like, what I wanted to do, who I was. Like I just felt really empty, and I thought I had lost these years of my life of figuring it
Mhm.
out. I didn't know what I thought. I was just like constantly lying to like everyone. I was
Mhm.
performing. And that was a real struggle of trying to figure out like who I am and what I wanted to do. And I realized that like I can sometimes, or I used to rather, like chase the approval of others and wanted to look like I was had it all together, and I wanted to look I was the rock of my friend group, and I was
Mhm.
all of these things, and I wasn't living from a place of authenticity for me. And what I
Mhm.
realized, and like this is part of the work that I do, is that the cracks will form,
Mhm.
and you will realize that like it will, like you not living your authentic life will cause serious discomfort and friction. And
Yeah.
until you get comfortable with that, it will keep showing up over and over and over again.
Mhm.
And so I think that doesn't discount the fact that you're going to pivot, and that doesn't discount the fact that you're going to change your mind and try on different personalities and who you are and what you want throughout your life. But
Mhm.
we want to start from a period or a point of this is who I am at this point in time. This is the decision I'm making at this point in time based on the information I have. And I want to engage in my life from that point because I'm going to be my own best friend and try to do what I want.
Mhm.
And so that was big. That was a big lesson for me. But
Yeah.
I felt so like lost and like lost at sea, really.
Yeah.
And I think that that was a very challenging, but eye-opening time for me.
Yeah, I can completely relate, and I also understand that so many of us are just trying to fit in many ways too, and it's important to have this sense of belonging, and so maybe sometimes we find ourselves doing things or engaging in things that like isn't all that fulfilling for us, but everyone around us seems to enjoy it, and therefore there's this unspoken expectation that you're supposed to enjoy it. At least I have felt that way many times in my own life, and then understood similar to you that, but this isn't me. So what are some things that you now you're so proud to just be like, I didn't used to think this was cool or didn't even like it, but now that I'm doing this, this is awesome, and I feel so liberated in myself. Like, what are some examples of things that you now do that you didn't before?
Well, I think interestingly, I think a lot of my particular journey has been returning to what I liked as a kid.
Right. Good
So
point.
I realized, like, similarly to what you were saying, I think as children we want to have like approval and acceptance and love and security, and so we adapt and amend ourselves to like be palatable to others and like not have embarrassment, rejection, or shame, but we want to like make everyone feel, ooh, you're doing well, like you're doing well, that's great. And then so I kind of went towards that.
Yeah.
Um, but I realized like as a kid, I really loved creative things. I really loved like dressing up in interesting outfits. I loved makeup. I loved um, painting and theater and like all of and pottery and all of these things that like, and when I was, as I grew up, I realized that like, as I said, that wasn't, it was valued in my house as like a hobby. Like it was valued in
Yeah.
my house as a thing that you can, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't viewed as like, or the story, let's say, that I was taught was that it wasn't like smart people, that's not what you do in life.
Right.
Like that's not an acceptable career. That's not
Right.
something that we do. That's not what we study. That's not like,
Yeah.
um, and so I've actually been participating in all of those, like taking art classes and like engaging in the theater more. I mean, I've always loved the theater and going to the theater, but I'm like starting to get back into doing it. And
Oh,
I've like taken a pottery class and I've taken screen printing classes and I'm like painting and I'm doing all and like going to more museums and I'm trying to really engage with that creative aspect of me because I also think I'm yeah, I think it's so filling and so freeing in a way that I have been missing.
mm.
And I think I also like it's helpful really to like I start each of these classes and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a total beginner again."
Yeah.
And it starts firing those things that are like, "Oh my God, like I'm a total beginner. That I can't be a beginner. I'm not good at this. Like this is ridiculous." Like but then I settle into no, you are a beginner and you're just learning and it's okay. And so it's a real practice in teaching myself how to kind of get through it and recognize that it's okay and I'm like who's gonna judge me and I think just also to note, sorry, is
No,
that
it's okay.
it's important to start to engage in the world as like as an adult. And what I mean by that is you're the only one judging yourself. Like
Oh yeah.
there's no adult who makes decisions for you. There's no adult who gets to say whether what you're doing is right or wrong. There's no adult, like you are the adult now. And
Mhm.
so it's important to like not look for other people's approval because that's what a child would do. Like, oh, is this piece that I made good? Like, it's not necessarily about that. It's about like, have I been learning? Is this better than the piece that I made before? Is it not? Is it more fun? Am I like letting myself be loose? There's no like judge out there being
Right.
like telling you that your life, and the same can be extrapolated to life. There's no judge telling you like your life isn't good enough.
Yeah.
It's your internal
You.
voices, and only you can kind of be the adult and be like, this is my choice.
Yeah. And you can also be the adult looking at the piece you just made and be like, I like this, and that's the only thing that matters.
100%.
Yeah,
Exactly. 100%.
I absolutely love what you're talking about. And it almost feels like the conclusion that I've also arrived to lately is that becoming an adult or growing up isn't about doing adult things because, and I don't even want to put us to a fault of getting to that headspace because I remember growing up being like, I want to do the things that adults can do because there's something new and exciting about it. Like when you
Yep.
grow older and you realize that like people are drinking alcohol and you can't do that until a certain age. And then when you get to do it the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, and then you indulge. And that is just one example of like 1,000 different things. So becoming an adult, I am starting to understand, and maybe not even becoming an adult, but finding yourself is
Hmm.
actually tapping back into that childlike behavior. Because I think instinctively when we are children, that is when we actually are our authentic self, if if the environment allows it. And what I mean
Sure.
by that is, of course, everyone's going to have their different set of upbringings and uncertainties of coming from that. But I think the majority of people have like this thing that they either love doing or looked up to people, other people who were doing it because they wanted to do it. And every children had this inner compass of what they found interesting or what they wanted to do or even did at the time. But then we kind of fall into like this routine where it's like you have to get an education, finish school, you have to get a stable job and secure your income. And then there's very traditional paths in terms of what you should follow. And somewhere along the way, we forgot what our authentic childlike energy and being wanted to do when we were
Yeah.
kids. And the more we
Yeah.
get to do that as adults, we're like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I remember over Christmas when my brother and my sister-in-law and I went back to the slopes that we used to sledge in the winter when we were children. And we brought our, what do you call it, sledges, um, to the top of the hill just to go down. And it is so fun. Like it's all of a sudden we're like kids again, and it feels like being kids. And the other day, my sister-in-law and I, we went in like in these, we just went out on the paths where the snow had just fallen down. It was like so much snow. And we just put on all the gears that we would do when we were kids and went into the snow and just like ate fresh snow and just got into that like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like the childishness of it all makes us as adults just feel liberated and free somehow. And obviously these are just silly examples, but like you said, with theater, or like I used to love singing growing up, and I'm even a good singer, but it was just never like a path that anyone like thought about like going down.
Yeah.
Or I mean, of course, there are people out there who thought that was a path going
Sure.
down.
Sure. Absolutely.
But there's also like it depends on what surroundings supported that mindset, because that's also what it is. It's like you might actually instinctively have a really good idea of what it is that you think you want to do and surrender yourself to that. But then we also fail to recognize that, yeah, but that also requires a support system that actually allow to cancel those voices in your head that says you can't. And if you have, even if your parents or your family or your friends mean it from the best place of their heart to protect you, it also might paralyze you from doing what you might want to do. And even the most secure parents out there is at a fault of doing that sometimes, because they're also just viewing the world through the lens of which they were formed. So if you
Yeah.
didn't have that support system around you that said, you can do whatever you put your mind to. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. We'll step by step, we'll get there. Or like doors will open, opportunities will unfold. But most people are more set in their ways because if they put that responsibility onto someone else, it also means that they can do that. And that is also presenting a massive amount of fear in people. So,
So
yeah.
yeah, you touched on a lot of things. So I think what's important is like as hopefully well-meaning as your family is,
Mm-hmm,
right? So
mm-hmm.
much of the stories we are told, whether consciously or subconsciously, maybe you heard your parents talking in the other room, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
somebody said something to you, or maybe, whatever it is.
It could be anything, yeah.
It could be anything. It could come from a place of love,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
can come from a place of protection. And it could also come from a place of fear and
Yeah,
protection in them, but it could also be a place of projection of, I mean, so much of what we
that's a good one.
hear from other people is projection, right? Of like
Mm-hmm.
their fears and insecurities and their desires, and they project onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it's really important to start to learn how to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time, and it's very hard to practice that. But I do also think, and I wonder what your thoughts are, but is that like I think that we all know. We all have some internal knowing of like what we want.
Yeah.
It's just a question of can we hear it? Can we listen to it? Do we have this like can we go after it? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cutting through the like stories that we've told, the noise that other people are saying, the fear and anxiety of like if I do this, I'll be alone or unloved or embarrassed or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I think it's that can be really hard, but you once you learn to listen to it, it gets louder and louder,
Yeah.
and that will allow you to practice not caring what other people think more and more.
Hmm.
You'll go through periods. I still go through
Oh
periods
yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
like, oh no. And exactly what you were saying, like what you don't want, and I really work with my clients and young adults to help them try not to do this, is like abdicate your responsibility and give it to somebody else and say like like parents, teachers, whatever, you make the decisions for me, because that is just going to lead you down a road that like you're not going to want to engage in, and like you're going to wake up one day and think, "Oh, I didn't make any of these decisions. Like
Yeah,
I
it's not your
this
road.
isn't my life."
Yeah, yeah, it is
Yeah.
formed by someone else. It's such a good point, and for sure, I agree with you. And oh, you did trigger my mind to something, and then I immediately lost it. But I know it's gonna come back. But
Okay. I hate when that happens.
it just sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, it's the you said something about projections, which I think
Mm.
is so important too, because like, yeah, we will project. Okay, now I remember what I was gonna say.
Amazing. Amazing. Love it.
It, I think that if you think of like if you look at a cake or a cupcake, anything that you have to use separate ingredients to
Mm.
make into a full fruition, is that if you look at life and all of the ideas that we have too, like in order to be like let's say that music is someone one is passionate about, and even singing is something that is great. It doesn't necessarily have to be that path alone. For instance, I can talk about it in my own experience, and I always knew that my greatest skill was communication. Therefore, I thought that like a job where I'm talking, or something that has to do with communication in either way, shape, or form. Not once ever in my life did I ever think that I was going to write a book, because like becoming an author didn't sound to be anything like communication to me, which is crazy now that I literally finished my book today.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all have stories, but yeah.
Yes, and but I think what I come to realize is that if we just lean into our skills and what we enjoy doing, and just take the first step, the first ingredients, add the eggs, add a little bit of sugar, whisk it, what happens? See what happens. Okay, we add a new ingredients, a door
Love
opens, an
this.
opportunity opens. It's like it becomes something, but we don't necessarily know what it looks like to begin with. And I think surrendering to not knowing and be okay with not knowing is probably the key. Because if we figure, like, I mean, of course a cake has an ingredients, you have to follow that step to get that cake especially. But what if you don't focus on making a chocolate cake? It's just a cake, and we'll figure out what type of cake and what that tastes and looks like along the way. It
Yeah.
is starting step by step, building stones, being perfectly fine with the uncertainty, allowing ourselves the surprise of opportunity that shows up, that presents itself when we follow these steps, and not even like having to set like this is how it has to be. That I am at a, like I am in such a fault of like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and that. It's like there's a this is what I'm doing, and then it's like
Yeah.
I start the
Well,
first step, and then something
exactly.
happens, and you can't do that second step, and or it just makes it really hard. And if we're so dead set on following the procedure or the recipe exactly, we also forget completely to enjoy the present.
Yes. So I think what's so important is like I would say I'm gonna just say something here. I don't, I think that maybe it's possible that being comfortable with the unknown and being comfortable living in uncertainty might be the most important things. I mean, there are so many important things, and a lot of which we've touched on, but
Yeah,
I mean, the thing, what's so interesting about your analogy is like we don't often have what the next step is. So,
yeah.
like, or let's say this also, things don't work out the way that we think they're going to work out. So, like,
Or the
oh,
timeline we
okay,
thought it was going to work out on.
exactly. And so, like, I would say potentially most of the time that happens. So,
Yes.
like, the idea, I mean, I personally have never seen someone, and I'm not someone whose life has worked out exactly as I thought it was going to. Like, I don't know one person who's like, I did this, and then I did this, and it was fine.
Perfect. It just worked
So
out. Seamless.
once, if someone finds that person, I think that's maybe the luckiest person in the world, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but like, because as you're saying, it doesn't open your life to spontaneity and experience. So
Yeah.
it depends on your perspective. But everyone I know is going through different things. And so
Yeah.
what's so important is like, how do you handle that? Like I was working with a client who she was her life was all planned. She was gonna go to medical school. She was gonna be a doctor, like all these things. And she realized that she didn't actually want to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was sitting with the uncertainty the first time that she was like doing that. And it was so challenging for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like you might lose your job. You might have to move cities because of your partner's job. You might lose your partner. Like you might like whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
you might get a promotion and have to move somewhere else. Like you might
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
it's important to be able to be okay with those changes and adapt and
Yeah.
amend and like
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah.
And so I think that those might be the most important parts of these skills,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good point because the thing is, like, I do believe that let's circle back to that one moment where it's like that one person who actually just gets everything that they want, and it's like this crazy things that never is supposed to happen. But when you then have it and you're holding it, do you have what it takes to keep it? Do you
Mm,
have what it takes to actually hold it and use it, utilize it? Or was things just given to you through luck or coincidence, or I don't really believe in
yeah,
coincidence, but you know what I
right.
mean, like,
But
but that doesn't mean that we're ready to hold it. And simultaneously it's like when we're dead set on what we're going to do and we have all of the action steps in front of us and we're doing them and we get to that like finish line and we arrive, can we look back and recognize that we even enjoyed it? Like, did we enjoy the process of getting there? And when we hold and when we're at the finish line and we have the thing that we worked for, is it even our goal, or was it the goal that my parents set for me? Is this what I
exactly.
wanted, or is this something that the cool neighbor did and I looked up to her and I wanted to be like her, so I did what she did? You know what I mean?
Huge.
It's like,
That's huge.
yes, it's
Yeah,
like, are the decisions that we're making even ours?
huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
So very, very interesting, all of these things. I'm having so much fun talking with you because I feel like we've lived parallel lives and somehow we're
Yeah.
connecting it. It's really fun. Um, Now I almost want to like just drive away from that completely and just like have a girl talk. But so what is keeping you in London right now? Like what drove you to London? Why did you want to go there, and what is making you stay essentially?
So I part of it is that I've always wanted to travel. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to live abroad. I've done it before. I really enjoy it. Like it's something that I love doing. So, and also while New York is not so far from Europe, it really isn't, and from other parts of the world, while being in Europe, traveling is a whole different conversation. Um, it is it's just easier.
Yeah.
And but I also, coming from New York, I have, well, it's to each their own, but I have always loved arts and culture. I'm very much an arts and culture person. And so London has theater and music and comedy and museums and all of these things that I also adore and want to engage with. And so there are other cities in the world that are like that, and who knows, I might live in those later. But I had an opportunity to move to London, and so I just based on and like I just wanted to take it, right? Like this opportunity presented itself, and I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of have that experience. And so I currently work in higher education. I've worked in
Mhm.
higher education in the US, and so I currently work in higher education as well as having my own business.
Mhm.
And so I'm working with young adults at all times
Love that.
and young adults who are going through periods of transition and
Yeah.
trying to figure themselves out and what they want. And so it's really stuff that is fulfilling and soul feeding for me.
Oh, love that.
And and yeah, and when I have the time, I try to go traveling and I try to go to museums and I go to the theater and like explore the city and figure out is who I want and what I'm doing and all of this.
Yeah,
And that's I think it's really important to continuously reflect on who you are and what you're doing and figure it out. And I think something that I'm kind of figuring out is like being closer to my friends that I've had for like my childhood friends and being closer to my family. I think that's like an interesting
yeah,
thing that people who are live abroad have to deal with.
yeah,
Um, or also, I guess anybody who lives in maybe far away from their family in general doesn't
yeah,
necessarily need to be in a different country. But so that's something I'm kind of thinking about now, but
yeah.
we'll see.
I understand that train of thought. I That's kind of exactly why I decided to move back to Norway. And what I'm learning to do is to not think so much in definitives. One of my best friends once told me, like, Maggie, you always talk in definitives. And I didn't actually know that I did do that, but he's so right, I did do that. And it's led to like an immense amount of reflection and just start to think of certain times in our lives as chapters instead. And right now, I'm just in this chapter where what I'm prioritizing first and foremost is spending time with my family, being close with family. I spent most of my 20s just roaming around the US being crazy, and that was fun. But and I don't regret it 1 second. I wouldn't have had it any other way. But of course, that is like going to be the backside of the medallion. It always is. It's like this one side of there's always like when I am in the US and I'm living my life there, my family is always here. I'm never gonna have both. And when I'm here, I miss my friends in San Francisco, and that's just how it is. So it's like, it's never
Exactly.
going to be fully perfect. But what I can do is focus on the present moment and what I'm prioritizing right now, because we can't prioritize 100% of the things at 100% of the time.
Right.
So that gave me time and perspective to just really, really hone in on quality time with them. And that's great. And also it allows me time and space and reflection to then create my book and write and be creative, make my podcast, give that more time, because now I have all the time in the world to do so. And when I'm in San Francisco and I'm in the US, things just look differently. So then it's also a different type of priority, and that is its own chapter. But
Right.
all of this can coexist just in separate times of our lives and call it a season. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to
Huge.
be so definitive or either or so permanent, because life is fleeting and you never know what's going to happen. So we might as well just stay in the present and be grateful for the thing that we get to have right here, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something I'm trying to hone in on, anyways, because
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's so it's so interesting who you meet when you are like going through certain things.
Yes. No
Because
such
yeah,
thing as a coincidence. I don't believe
no.
that.
And so I think it's just, I mean, that's so interesting to hear you say this because I'm in a period where I'm trying to reevaluate what my priorities are.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out because right now there are a few things, and I think that those things, it's great to have multiple priorities and, but you can't have them all at the same time. And sometimes things or like don't work with the another priority. Like I
Yeah.
think that there are certain things, especially like being with my family, I can't do that from here, right?
No.
But there are other things that I can't do from New York. So I
Yeah.
think I'm trying to kind of figure out that list and what's at the top of that list of priorities for right now,
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying, and realize that like that doesn't have to be forever.
Yeah. Nothing's
Um,
permanent.
so that's so interesting that you're so interesting that you're talking about this because it's a lot of what I'm figuring out or trying to go through
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I'm happy to provide some perspective on that. And I mean, when I lived in San Francisco, a lot of us in San Francisco were exchange students or someone who was kind of like coming and going. And like you coming from New York, being in London, like I'm sure there's so many people around you who are not born and raised in London and
Yes.
or England even. And I think it's a beautiful time of life to get perspective and to gain perspective, especially in a world that is so crazy in terms of like politics and what's controlling what and what. But it's coming into your own value of things and understanding what's important to you, and also kind of portioning it out, because of course, like when I decided to go back to the US, no, back to Norway, my bad. I had to let go of a lot of things that I had worked really hard for. And like the H-1B, which is a work visa in the US,
Yeah.
I'd worked for years and decided to just be like, no, I don't want this. You know, like,
Yeah.
but it comes with a risk. And I think a lot of it's like there are technicalities that will paralyze the choice, such as a visa, for instance, because or the income and the money or a partner or whatnot. Like there's going to be things that will paralyze the choice. And because we think that is definitive. Like, I mean, now when I decided to let go of the visa in terms of H-1B in the US, now it's more expensive than it's ever been to get an H-1B, meaning I'm not going to get that ever again. But that doesn't mean I can never go back or that
Right.
there's not ever going to be a different opportunity that presents itself exactly at the right time. Because, yeah, just because the H-1B is more expensive, making it more impossible at this point, what if there's something completely different that allows me to return? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. And the truth is we never know. And we've also experienced that now. We've lived for so many years with like a president like Donald Trump. Who thought that was gonna happen? And then the pandemic hit. Like who thought that was gonna happen? And like none of us know what's coming and how we're going to react or what the result of that is going to be until after the fact. So what you said earlier is so important. How do you handle the thing that is presented to you, and how well are you adapting to what's coming, what is coming, without letting it become this big catastrophe or this like awful thing that happens. And it's like because it's so unpredictable, we just lose our sense of self in it because it becomes too overwhelming. Like how well can we deal with overwhelm, essentially?
That's incredible too. So it's like
Yeah,
exactly right. And I think what's also important, I was having a conversation with a client recently, and it was like she was talking about all of these things and having a secure job and having like
yeah,
she's like I have all these things and I want this.
yeah,
But it's I'm and what's I think what is really the conversation that we had that was quite important was like there is no such thing as security.
yeah,
Like you could get laid off from your job. Like you could something could happen elsewhere. Like you don't like this idea that our like there's security in our life is a fallacy.
yeah,
And so what you're saying is exactly correct. Like in with all these circumstances, with the unknown, with all this happening, all of this outside stuff, it is and it can be very challenging to
mhm,
figure out what you want. And that's the work that we do is like, how do you figure out what are your values? Like, how do
yeah,
you figure out what you want in the midst of all of this? And sometimes the choices can feel huge, too
yeah,
big, and thus paralyzing.
yeah,
But it's important to be like, okay, but in my life right now, is everything okay? Yes. Can I
yes,
do like can I survive for a little bit longer? Do I have the money for this? Am I financially able to do this? Am I healthy? Is my family healthy? Like all these, and then you kind of start from there, and then you kind of figure it out. But
yeah,
make it, and I think also there are a lot of things you can do about how to make a decision,
mhm,
right? Like trying to realize that like there's no such thing as a right decision. There's no such thing as a wrong decision. There's just you don't know that the book that you're writing might lead you to have a book tour and that leads you back to the US or somewhere else, or you might end up teaching your book in a class in the US or whatever, or somewhere. Like you don't know, and that's
the
what's
beauty
exciting.
of
So
it.
like
Yes, it's so
maybe you thought,
exciting.
right,
Yeah.
so maybe you thought like, oh my gosh, I can't give up this visa. That's so oh my gosh, that's so scary. Like that might be the wrong decision. What if it is?
Or irresponsible and like
Or
letting go of
irresponsible.
finance, like the set income, like having a salary. Like it was so scary. It was
Yeah.
really, really scary. I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't incredibly terrified to make that choice. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it was just that sense of peace and also knowing that like God is good. That was like something that went along in my mind. It's like God is good. So whatever happens, it's gonna be fine. We are the only one making it so dramatic.
It is true, actually.
Yeah.
It is true. And it's our attitudes, and we are the only ones. I think I was listening to a podcast, and
Yeah.
what was real, what someone said, I forget who it was events are not stressful. Your understanding of the event is stressful.
Yeah.
Like, so, you lose your job. That's not in itself a stressful thing, but you can go, oh my God, this is so stressful. But then you can go, oh, but actually, that means I can do this, or that means I can go back home, or that, like, it is your perception of what's
Yeah.
happening.
Hmm.
Like a promotion could be actually something that is really exciting and really good, but you could find it really stressful. Like,
Yeah.
it is your perception of what's going on and your attitude that ch changes the trajectory of your life.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, even that promotion can just turn out to even more responsibility that you didn't want to
Exactly. And so, yeah, so the more you see positive things, the
have.
more you can kind of open your mind to seeing the positive things in the future. Like, you're more you're training your mind to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. Like, I think so often we can train ourselves to see the negative,
Yeah.
and that or and I actually do a similar, or used to do slash sometimes still do a similar thing, which is
Great self-awareness.
see in definitives.
Yes.
I have a brain that does that. Who's
Yes.
When you said that, I was like, okay. Um, I have a brain that's like, oh, it's this or this. It's this or this.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. Oh my
that's what it is.
goodness. Oh,
And
that's
so
so
I have
funny.
to continuously train my brain to be like, well, it's not. It can be both. It can be neither. It can be something like, yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, Hillary, I'm having so much fun talking to you. I feel like I can talk to you for hours.
Oh, great.
This is awesome. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to share with my listeners?
Oh, anything in the world. Um,
Everything.
yeah, I think it's just really, I know it sounds cheesy, but I think it's really important to be your own best friend and
Oh,
be kind to yourself,
yeah.
because you're trying to figure something out, but judging yourself trying to figure it out and judging your choices isn't helpful. And it's really important that, like, it's okay to not be able to figure it all out on your own. It could be helpful to talk to somebody, and if it is, it's important to reach out to somebody, and an objective third party person that's not family or friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all in this together, and we're all trying to
Um,
figure it out.
yeah. Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Where can my listeners find you?
Yeah, so my website is batoutahell.net, and my TikTok and Instagram are bat.outta_hell. And I'll send it all to you so you can put it in the
Yes,
show notes for
will
sure.
do. Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to talk to anyone and everyone. We can start working together. We can have a consultation call and see if, like, this work makes sense for you, and how I work and who I am makes sense for you. But yeah, I'm really excited. Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on my show and for having this conversation with me. It was great
Thank
getting to know
you.
you. You're such a beautiful girl. It's so fun to get to know you.
Oh my God, thank you so much. So are you, and we're so similar.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.